So the Indiana Fever signed Demiris Dantas in the offseason, and for me, it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. The signing doesn't make sense. Like, she didn't play yesterday. I'm so confused. I'm so confused about it all. Before we get on to things, though, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We are, Jesus, lads, we're not far off 14,000. If we could hit that by today, that'd be ridiculous. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Either way, Demiris Dantas, for the way the Fever are playing, it makes no sense. Like, when was the WNBA draft? I need to see this. Like, I need to check when the WNBA draft lottery was. Like, so the WNBA draft lottery in 2024 was on the, when was it? When was the lottery? The draft lottery was the 10th of December 2023. So, when they signed Dantas, the year was, or it was in the year of 2024, on February the 1st. So on February the 1st. So 2 months after they knew they were getting the number 1 overall pick, they signed a slow-footed center / power forward who's not going to be able to run up and down the floor with Caitlin Clark. It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. The only thing I can think of is that, like, she was there to help Aaliyah Boston. She was there to help Aaliyah Boston. Which it makes, you know what, like, that makes perfect sense. That makes absolute perfect sense. Like, signing her if Aaliyah Boston's there. But, like, you knew you were getting Caitlin Clark. You knew you were getting Caitlin Clark in December. Unless you thought that Paige Becker's hype was going to be there and she was going to declare for the draft. Unless you thought Paige Beckers was going to be an option. Because signing Dantas doesn't make any sense if you were going to take Cameron Brink. Doesn't make any sense if you're going to take Camila Cardoso. If they were going to be in the draft. It was looking like it was going to be Caitlin Clark. You already had an Alyssa Smith on the team. When was Temi Fagbenle signed? I assume Temi Fagbenle was signed after that. And also, the salary they have Temi on is a joke. Like, Temi was the best player on the London Lions team. And London Lions were good. And London Lions were really good and she was the best player. So they signed Temi, does it say? In January 2024. So they signed Temi before. It actually says that they only signed her to a training camp contract. But, like, Temi literally was the best player on the London Lions team who won Euro Cup. She was the best player on that team. And, like, Dantas played in Turkey. I don't think the team she played on was probably as good as Besiktas, who they beat in the final of Euro Cup. But, like, Temi's been great. So, you already have Alyssa Smith, you already have Aaliyah Boston. You go and sign Katie Lou Samuelson. Did they just think Katie Lou was going to somehow be a defensive shooting guard? Because, like, Alyssa Smith's never been able to play defense. You knew you were getting Caitlin Clark. And then whoever the hell is going to play, like, Kelsey Mitchell can't play defense. So did you just assume that you were going to be able to, that Alyssa Smith was going to be able to play defense? This signing makes less sense now that they have Caitlin Clark because she's even slower. But it didn't make sense at the time. Like, looking back on this, obviously, as someone who occasionally watched the WNBA, I wasn't, like, an absolute fanatic. But now looking back on it, this signing makes no sense. She doesn't fit with the team. She played 0 minutes. But whose minutes does she take? Does she take Katie Lou's 4 minutes a game? Because there's no way that she's taking minutes from Aaliyah Boston. There's no way she's taking minutes from Alyssa Smith. There's no way she's taking minutes from Temi Fagbenle. If anything, Temi Fagbenle is going to be taking some of Alyssa Smith's minutes. Boston's going to be playing her 30 to 35 minutes a game. And then you've got Katie Lou, whose best role this season has been in that stretch 4 position. She's been better playing at the 4 than she has the 3. So I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, if you were going to activate her while Temi was injured for a month and a bit. Like, Temi was injured for, well, not a month and a bit, a month. If you're going to activate her then, but you activated her for her first game when Temi came back, she is the 5th choice big on the team, and you got rid of Celeste Taylor, someone who actually could have done something. Like, this is just awful from the GM. And look, Lynn Dunn she's one of the big reasons why the Storm were where they were. She was the coach when they won the championship in 2012. Lynn Dunn's basketball career is a Hall of Fame career. Do not take anything away from what Lynn Dunn has done in her career. But this is the worst built team I've ever seen. The Mystics are a better built team than this. The Mystics are better built. And the Mystics hired a better coach than she did. And the Mystics GM hired his son. He hired his son, and he's still a better coach than Christy Sides. And then Damaris Dantas makes no sense. Like, I'm trying to think of a scenario where she's going to see the floor. Is she there for the vibes? Like, is she there for the vibes? Are her and Saxon just gonna be there for the vibes? You know what? She's like the 13th highest paid player at her position in the league. She is one of the higher paid bench players in this league. Albeit they already have the highest paid bench player in max contract Wheeler. But she's one of the higher paid bench players in this league. She's paid more than a Megan Gustafson, who could literally come in here and ball. She's making $100,000 a year, was injured for the first half of the season. And, like, again, you kept her there, you signed her injured. Like, I cannot believe it. The more I'm looking at the Indiana Fever, the more I'm like, this is the worst franchise in sports. This is the worst franchise in all of sports. And look, again, Christy Sides did not want the job, and Lynn Dunn basically begged her to take the job. Is it that bad a franchise that you can't even sign? Like, you can't even get a coach? Like, what did they have to pay Katie Lou to come? Like, Katie Lou, what did she average? Like, 8 points the last time she played? Again, she was great at UConn, but, like, she's not even the better sister. Katie Lou is on a near max? Oh, dear God. Like, I like Katie Lou. I think she's fine. She's a fine basketball player, but she's on a near max. She's on a near max. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. The Indiana Fever contracts. I need to make an entire video on this. I'm just reading this right now, and like, you've got Dantas making $100,000 a year. Like, at least Christy Wallace is their least paid player, I guess. At least Christy Wallace is their least paid player. She's not very good, but at least she's their least paid player. But this whole organization, it just doesn't make any sense. And it's not like, I'm not saying Damaris Dantas is a bad player. She gives you decent size. She can shoot the ball a little bit. She can pass the ball a little bit. She's extremely slow on her feet. She's not going to be able to run up and down the floor. And she's not going to be a particularly good defender. She is a significantly worse version of an Aaliyah Boston. She is there, I'm guessing, to play high-low with Aaliyah Boston. But the fact is that you've watched Caitlin Clark. I'm fully convinced Lynn Dunn nor Christy Sides actually watched Caitlin Clark play basketball before they drafted her. I'm not joking. I'm convinced. I'm convinced they made all these signings after the lottery. I'm fully convinced they thought the Paige Beckers was coming out and that they could have just said, you know what? Like, you couldn't pass on Caitlin Clark, but the only way you could pass on Caitlin Clark is if Paige is there. Like, that's the only thing that makes sense. The only thing that makes sense is if they were like, no, we're taking Paige. Other than that, I'm just baffled by what they've done this year.